But we found there's a strong connection.
I would rather deal with organized crime than disorganized crime. Because in disorganized crime, everybody's out there doing whatever they wanted to do. In organized crime, only certain people can do it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Corruption Connection. I'm your host, Tony Hernandez. So if you watched my previous episode, I had touched a little bit on the NYPD's number fixing scandal. If you saw recently, I believe the New York Post posted an article of how a commanding officer out of Transit District 20 in Queens was recently demoted for number fixing, playing the numbers, playing with the stats. Now, I could tell you personally that that's nothing new. This particular guy put a spotlight on himself, and, you know, he was actually making a lot of enemies, which I think is why he got caught up in the system. So his name is Captain Stephen Hyland, recent commanding officer of Transit District 20, who was demoted. I worked in Transit District 20 for the majority of my career. That's kind of where I got the start. They cover 6 different precincts throughout Queens. They are the largest transit district, I believe. And yeah, I worked there for the majority of my career. So I can tell you that number fixing has always been going on. I don't know if it's as blatant as it is today, and why I worked under a gentleman who was actually demoted for number fixing as well. He actually recently passed away. Deputy Inspector Manzolillo, Captain Manzo is what I called him at the time. He was my captain. I thought he would forever be a captain. I never thought he would get his inspector's clovers back. But he was a very likable guy. He was probably the biggest guy on the NYPD. If anybody knows who I'm talking about, he's huge. The guy's a house. He actually recently passed away, rest in peace. But I mean, he was a force. And he was actually demoted for the same exact thing, number fixing. He was a rising star in the NYPD. And when you are a rising star, you get a lot of haters, you get a lot of pushback. Some people love you, some people hate you. I don't know how anybody could hate that guy. He was such a nice guy, and he was just like a huge presence of a man in every single way, you know, and he was really cool, you know. In my experience with him and my interactions with him, he was a gentleman. He always treated me right. He went based off the words of his lieutenants and his sergeants, which is kind of cool. He had like a really tight-knit group that he ran, and you know, he garnered a lot of respect with us. So rest in peace to him. But going back to this new commanding officer of Transit District 20, I don't know who he is. I still have some friends that work in the Transit District. Obviously, I worked there for a long time. And they told me he was unlikable. He was not a very well-liked guy. You know, he was the guy to call attention to the desk and kind of nitpick and make sure everybody salutes him and holds the door for him and not say hello to everyone. Just that kind of guy, you know, from his personality, you know, from what I've talked to people, that was his personality. I don't know him. I never met him personally, but I did work out of that precinct. So how could the numbers be fixed? Well, I'll tell you how it could be fixed. So when a crime happens, an officer is first to arrive to the scene. He determines the totality of the circumstances, and realize, what does he got? Does he have probable cause for arrest? Does he have a warn and admonish? What's going on here? So when he determines that he has probable cause for arrest, you have to determine what the arrest is. We have a penal law code in New York City. You can look up the crimes, violations, misdemeanors, and felonies, right? In most instances, when a crime occurs, it's classified as whatever the officer sees. Hey, he was robbed of his cell phone. This person was pickpocketed. This person was sexually assaulted. Whatever it is, we'll look up the equivalent crime. We'll look up the definition of what the equivalent crime equates to in the penal law, right? So that being said, when you come up on a scene and you tell a victim, okay, stand by, let me call a supervisor just to confirm what it is I have here. Let's say you have a violent robbery, okay? The victim's phone was taken and they were pushed down, okay? It's a robbery. That's a felony. That's a number. These commanding officers don't want these numbers. They don't want crime to go up. Let me just blatantly say that. They don't want the crime to go up because that's how they get promoted. So it's all about politics at that stage of the game. Once you become captain, they call it white shirt immunity. Once you become on that level, you're kind of immune to everything else, and it's a whole different ball game. It becomes just straight politics. You kind of take care of each other in a way. So that being said, the internal politics of wanting to get the promotion, wanting to go from captain to deputy inspector to inspector to chief, and however far they want to go. It's all based on merit at that point. It's based on how they judge you. How did you run that precinct? Was the precinct better run under your control or not? So a lot of guys will inflate the numbers or deflate the numbers depending on how it positively impacts their goals. In this situation, what it looked like was happening is that, like I was telling you in that example, if there's a strong arm robbery, what this captain, commanding officer, was doing was looking for a way to turn that strong arm robbery, that person getting pushed down, into something less severe. So they might say, well, hey, I don't think it was a strong arm robbery. Maybe the person fell and, they took the phone and the phone smashed, so it's not a grand larceny, so we can't charge that felony. Sounds like harassment and criminal mischief. So harassment would be to annoy or cause alarm or, cause someone to feel kind of fearful, I guess. So they would kind of run with that. To me, that's a form of number fixing. I mean, you're manipulating what happened here. This was a strong arm robbery. The phone was taken, the person was pushed, even though the phone was smashed. Doesn't matter. Like, that's a strong arm robbery. What you're trying to do is finagle it so you don't take that number. You don't take that felony hit. It makes you look better at something called Compstat. It's a meeting where the CEOs, the commanding officers, go every month to report crimes to the higher ups. City Hall, you have CCRB, all these kind of, well, I don't know if CCRB is in Compstat, but you have the CEOs, you have the commissioner, sometimes people from the mayor's office. This is all live. It's publicly recorded. So at these Compstat meetings is kind of the determination of where these bosses are either getting ripped from their superiors or getting praised and promoted. So that's what I mean when it all comes down to politics. If that commanding officer can make that robbery go away and turn it into a minor harassment and criminal mischief, kudos to him, right? However, for me, that's a form of corruption, no? I mean, I don't know. So in this instance, with the spotlight on the department, with so many different instances of corruption from the leadership all the way down, I mean, you have Eric Adams, who was under indictment. Now he's not. Chief Madry, who was running, supposedly, allegedly, a pay-to-play sex for overtime scandal. I mean, there's the amount of scandals go on and on and on in the past few months, and under Eric Adams' watch, under his administration, police commissioners come and go. Now you have Jessica Tisch, who's turning up every rock in the department, kicking out everyone, kind of doing an audit of everything. And, when that happens, when there's a spotlight, and I spoke about this in my other interview, it's sometimes those little things that put a spotlight on everything else. In this instance, it's reverse. It's the spotlight on the mayor and the executives of the police department that's putting the spotlight on everyone else, all the people that are below them. So in that instance, it's people like this captain or deputy inspector, whatever he is right now, they suffer because now the focus starts to come on them.
Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this video, please click the like button below and make sure to subscribe to the channel.
If you would like to support the channel further, please hit the super thanks icon, which can be found below each video or in the comment section below. If anyone is interested in becoming a connected member, click the join button to gain access to rare pictures of organized crime figures, untold stories, and exclusive behind the scenes footage.
Thank you. Now let's get back to Corruption Connection.
Now, am I saying he's innocent? Absolutely not. He shouldn't have been doing this in the first place, but this is how these things happen and this is how they get caught. So I could definitely see, I don't know the details of the case. We'll look at this little article from the Post and see exactly what they say, or if there's any other developing parts of the story. However, yeah, man, so it's real. Number fixing does exist. The NYPD does manipulate the story to their convenience. I mean, and like I said, at that point, they're politicians. So there's not really much around it. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're not going to make your bosses happy if the numbers keep going up and you won't get promoted. However, if you try to manipulate this crime in a little bit, you'll be demoted. I mean, and he could be fired. I don't know the extent of it, of what he's actually done in regards to the numbers fixing, but I'm sure that they could probably fire him and imprison. He could face imprisonment depending on the severity of the charges or what he did in order to manipulate those cases. This is I don't want to say he's a scapegoat, but he isn't the first one, and he definitely isn't the last one to fudge the numbers. I kind of feel like I said, it's all political at that point. So there's a lot of people that are just walking on eggshells right now, knowing they did the same thing and just kind of trying to fly under the radar. In my opinion, there needs to be a complete audit within the NYPD. However, will that fix everything? I don't know. The NYPD is a systematically corrupt organization. It's been corrupt since its inception. If you look at all the scandals and all the history of the NYPD, it's marred with controversy and scandals and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of it does get swept under the rug. Every 20 to 30 years, it'll catch the attention of the public. You had the NAP Commission with Serpico. You had the Mueller Commission, Michael Dowd. I mean, every 20 to 30 years, the NYPD is due for a big scandal, and I guess it's here. You know, I guess the Eric Adam administration is here for the scandal. You know, I don't follow it as much as I should. However, if you do, if you're into that, or whatever, definitely check out my channel because I do talk about a lot of the corruption that occurs within the NYPD. Now, I don't want to completely shit on the NYPD here. There's a lot of great men and women that sacrifice their lives every day, put their lives on the line. They have families. They don't know if they're coming home. They're underappreciated. They get no respect in the street, no support from their leadership. It's a really, really tough time to be a cop. And if you've seen that, within the last 5 years, I believe, is the largest exodus of police officers in the NYPD's history since its inception. I mean, we're talking about a police force that was created in the 1860s, 1865, I believe. I forgot the exact date. But 150-something-year-old organization, and you're telling me that in the last 5 years, the most amount of people left, that means they don't want to be cops, they join and just quit? That's crazy to me. Those numbers are crazy. And not only that, they're not able to fill the ranks. So there's actually a hiring crisis going on right now in the NYPD. And I recently saw that all sergeant promotions have been put on hold. Why? Because they can't fill the ranks of those cops. So how are they going to promote these cops to sergeant when they're dying for cops? Record low numbers of people joining the NYPD. The retention rate is terrible. People are joining and literally quitting on the first day. I talked to some people. I mean, it's happened before. You'd always get that one bad apple in the barrel who would be like, yeah, this ain't for me. But you're hearing the story over and over of people literally working one day, coming back into the precinct, taking off their shield and guns, saying, this is not for me. After a day, after a week, whatever. But it's happening. I mean, and what does that do to morale? Now, you're a cop. You've been suffering, you've been pushing through, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to get promoted. It's a couple months away. Now the department says, no, promotions are on hold. You're not allowed to go forward. You cannot be a sergeant now. So that definitely affects your pension. It affects the time that you're going to stay on the job. Medical, that kind of stuff, you know, it's a different story. But, you know, just in general, it's going to affect your numbers and stuff like that. It's going to affect a lot of things. And it will affect how long you are, how much time you have in rank as well. I mean, it's just a pause. Right now is literally just a pause. And how can you put a pause on the nation's largest police force? Crime doesn't take a pause. Criminals don't take a pause. I mean, we're headed for a disaster, and I don't know if they have a solution to fix it because the people that they're actually bringing into the NYPD to fill these ranks, they're not the best quality people. They're not the A squad. They're not even the B squad. They've taken away so many requirements in order for them to become police officers that they're kind of just scraping the bottom of the barrel. And I don't blame the people for not wanting to take the job. I mean, when the starting salary when I started was $44,000 a year. I mean, $44,500, something like that. $44,250, somewhere along those lines. Who is going to survive in New York City on that salary? Especially if you have a family or something like that. It's almost impossible. And a lot of times now, I think the young generation, they don't see cops as such an alluring or attractive job anymore. You know, you don't get support, you don't make money, you get treated like shit, you get clowned all day by the public, you get damned if you do, damned if you don't from the media and the courts. You could lose your life, lose your pension, qualified immunity is supposed to protect you when you're on the job just in case you get into any hairy situation. They're looking to take that away. So that means you'll be personally liable to a criminal if he accuses you of, you know, mistreating him during arrest. I mean, the incentive is just not there. And then they wonder why people don't want to join. Why would I want to join that? It's not like such an attractive thing to do. I could do so many other things and make the same exact money and not have to put my life on the line. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeing. So in my opinion, the NYPD is in a crisis right now. How they're going to fill those ranks, I have no ideas. But I could tell you right now, those people that were on the list looking to get promoted to sergeant, they're not in the foreseeable future, not for a few months. And they said a few months. Who knows how long it'll take. So we'll see what they do in order to fix this crisis. Tune in next time. I'll be sharing some more of my transit stories and, kind of touching on the news in the NYPD and seeing what's going on. If anybody has any comments, questions, or concerns, I also make a lot of videos about organized crime. I'm working on getting a lot of FBI files that I've never seen. I'm going to take a look at the JFK files myself. I kind of feel like everybody's doing that. It's kind of been done to death, but, we'll see. But stay tuned. I have some really good content coming for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll catch you guys on the next one. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, I'm your host, Tony Hernandez, and this is Corruption Connection.